Hello, my name is Chad Moore. I live in Delaware, and I've been an atheist all my life. I started studying religion, mythology, and folklore when I was 9 years old, and became a lifelong hobby. I eventually ended up getting my degree in social and cultural anthropology from the University of Delaware in 2005 after I got out of the Navy, where I was an intelligence specialist. I have two children. I've been married for almost 10 years, and I've also been an outspoken atheist on Facebook since 2009. I've lost a few friends because of it, but I've gained a lot more. The online atheist community is a vital part of achieving social normalization. Many atheists who may have once felt isolated in their local area now have a place to socialize, share ideas, and meet like minded people from around the country and around the world. While atheism and non belief are on the rise in the United States, our demographic is still among the most despised and least trusted, as well as the most underrepresented in the media and government. In order to overcome this stigma, non believers must work towards social normalization. Social normalization, in this case, simply entails atheism becoming so commonplace that the rest of society ceases to consider it taboo because they no longer misunderstand what it means or who identifies as such. When people learn that the doctors, teachers, police, accountants, neighbors, etc., in their community are non believers, when they realize that they are literally surrounded by atheists, they will eventually stop viewing atheism in a negative light. This may be easier said than done, though, given atheism's history in America. Like other minority groups in the U.S., atheists have faced their fair share of discrimination through the years, but have found social acceptance and legal protection harder to come by, and after most groups. Examples abound in recent years. The San Antonio Independent School District prevented students from accessing atheist websites until 2012. A witness in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida in Fort Myers was denied the right to be sworn in with a secular oath in 2011. The U.S. military routinely evangelizes to soldiers and demands that they attend chapel services. Businesses like Fisherman's Quarters 2 in North Carolina have been known to give discounts to religious patrons while denying them to non believers. A bus advertisement that simply read atheists was rejected by Pennsylvania in 2012 because it, quote, could be deemed too controversial or otherwise spark public debate. High school students are routinely banned from starting atheist clubs. Students who try to get prayers removed from graduation are ostracized and threatened. I'm sure a lot of you remember Jessica Alquist, who fought a legal battle to have a prayer banner removed from the auditorium at her public school. The Boy Scouts still have a ban on atheists, despite lifting their ban on homosexuals in 2013. There are numerous cases of parents losing custody of their children or people losing their jobs because of their non belief. From destroying families to ending careers, discrimination against atheists in America has and continues to impact citizens' lives, much like the discrimination leveled at other minority groups, albeit without the same levels of violence or economic oppression. The difference, of course, is that atheists can hide who we are, but we shouldn't have to. In that way, our struggle for social normalization can best be compared to that of the LGBT community. And like that community, we atheists should approach normalization in the same ways, both on an individual basis and as a nationwide demographic. While atheists and non-believers make up about 20% of the American population, less than 4% of citizens identify as LGBT. So how did such a small group become such a force, even leading many to think that they were a much larger percentage? By aggressively saturating popular culture with images and examples until it became commonplace. You can turn on your TV, watch a movie, or listen to music and find countless mentions of God and religion, some subtle, some overt, but where are the dissenting voices? Watch any average sitcom and count how many times God, church, or the Bible are mentioned or portrayed. There have been a number of specifically Christian-themed TV shows such as Touched by an Angel, Highway to Heaven, Seventh Heaven, and even now a new show, Angel from Hell, starring Jane Lynch as the guardian angel. Many television characters profess their faith, cite the Bible, or regularly attend church, but how many express their skepticism or openly question religion? How many openly atheist characters can you think of on TV? Dr. Gregory House from House and Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory come to mind, but the only character I can think of who ever actually stated that they were an atheist was Rob Reiner's Mike Stivic on All in the Family, a classic show well known for its revolutionary content and being ahead of the time by crossing a multitude of cultural lines. And how are House and Sheldon portrayed? As mean, sarcastic, egotistical loners, the stereotypical atheist. The same is true with movies, especially the new trend of Christian-friendly films like Heaven is Real and God's Not Dead, where atheists are essentially cast as nefarious villains. And of course, the music industry has its share of Christian influence, with entire genres dedicated to Christianity and plenty of songs that mention God and faith. Wholesome Carrie Underwood can sing all about her faith, but in order to question God, you have to be someone like Marilyn Manson. In the world of sports, we often see displays of religion when players pray on the field or thank God after a victory, but an atheist like Arian Foster coming out makes headlines because he is the only one to have done so far. Name any other famous athlete who has made their non-belief public. I had to look it up. There isn't much there other than Bruce Lee revealing that he did not believe in God during an interview, distance swimmer Diana Nyad, who had to explain to Oprah that atheists can, in fact, see beauty in the world, and Lance Armstrong once said, "If there was a God, I'd still have both nuts." While underrepresented in pop culture, atheists are almost non-existent in politics and government. There have been a few mayors, governors, and state senators who have made their atheism public knowledge, but only one congressman to date, California's Pete Stark, who left office in 2013. Representative Barney Frank announced his non-belief, but only after leaving office in 2013, even though he had come out as gay in 1987. There are currently no confirmed atheists representing Americans in the upper echelons of the federal government. It stands to reason that a good number of politicians are atheists, but to admit it would be political suicide. In fact, studies show that a hypothetical, well-qualified atheist presidential candidate polls at 54%, lower than any other category, below Muslims, gays and lesbians, Mormons, Jews, Hispanics, Catholics, women, or African Americans. Not only would an atheist have a hard time winning an election, but there are 7 states, Arkansas, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, whose state constitutions actually forbid atheists from holding office. Although no longer enforceable, these laws still reflect the contempt and distrust leveled at atheists throughout American history. As for historic legislation and legal decisions that have protected the rights of atheists in America, several important cases were brought before the Supreme Court in the mid-20th century. In 1948, the case of McCollum versus the Board of Education involved a parent who decided to challenge a policy in her son's school that pressured students to enroll in a Christian religious education program offered during school hours. It was the first decision to hold states accountable to the Establishment Clause under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. It is said that all subsequent church-state decisions involving school prayer, state aid to parochial schools, and religious displays on public property descend from the McCollum case. In 1962's Engel versus Vitale, the court ruled against a New York state law that allowed public school students to recite a non-denominational prayer written by a state school commission. In 1963, the court ruled on cases involving teachers and officials reading the Bible to students and leading them in reciting the Lord's Prayer. The school said that the students could wait outside the classroom if their parents objected, but the court decided that the practices equated to establishing religion in the public schools. Then, in 1971, more precedents related to upholding the Establishment Clause was established by Lemon versus Kurtzman. At the time, Chief Justice Warren Burger established the Lemon test for determining whether or not a law has 3 criteria in order to be considered constitutional. The criteria are: 1. The law must have a secular legislative purpose. 2. Its principal or primary effect must neither advance nor inhibit religion. And 3. It must not foster excessive entanglement between government and religion. One of the most important and far-reaching victories for secular Americans was the Kitzmiller versus Dover Area School District case. This was the case in which creationists were attempting to introduce creationism into public schools by renaming it intelligent design. A U.S. District Court ruled in favor of the plaintiffs in December of 2005. These are but a few landmark cases. There are countless other examples on a smaller scale throughout the country. However, atheists in America still face a long series of legal battles regarding such issues as end-of-life care, reproductive health and abortion, churches endorsing political candidates, academic integrity, abstinence-only sex ed programs in public schools, religious displays on public property, religious organizations who discriminate when they hire, yet accept tax dollars from the government, and many more. So how can we each help? How can we keep working toward achieving equal protection and social normalization? Personally, I live fairly out as an atheist. My family was never religious, so I never had to hide or worry about what they would think. My friends know where I stand, and the vast majority are either non-believers themselves or believers who just don't care. However, I do have to be careful when it comes to my professional life. Unfortunately, there were those in my field here in my state and potential clients who would discriminate against me and may even go out of their way to expose me. On the other hand, I've worked with a number of clients who know me from Facebook and have seen my posts against religion and decided to work with me despite, or even in some cases because of my atheism and political ideology. In my personal sphere, I don't really worry that much about people discovering that I'm an atheist, but I know that many don't have that luxury. There are those who are ostracized by their family, friends, and community, and there are of course parts of the world where being an atheist can get somebody killed. I'm well aware that it is easier said than done to simply be an out atheist. The key is picking your spots and having the courage to do so. For example, if you do something nice for someone and they say, "God bless you," you could smile and say, "Actually, I'm an atheist, and you're welcome." I know many people would simply say thank you and probably wish they had said more later, but it's important to use these opportunities to improve the image of atheists, to show others that we're good people, capable of doing good things, and that we're everywhere. If we want more atheist characters on TV and in movies, we have to show an outpouring of support for the few we're given. If we want to be better portrayed in popular culture, we have to support and encourage the rare examples we see. We also have to speak out against the negative stereotypes. If we want more representation in government, we have to encourage candidates to feel comfortable professing their non-belief, or at least addressing atheist and secular issues. How do they plan to represent their atheist constituents? How will they defend the separation of church and state? How will they keep religion out of legislation? We have to ask these questions publicly, whether it's at live town hall meetings or via social media. We also have to keep growing our online community by remaining vocal and public, encouraging others to express themselves, fostering an environment where fledgling atheists can find support and information, and continuing to have events like this convention. We can't stay quiet and hope things will get better or assume others will take the lead. We each have to be the change we want to see. We have to represent atheism in the most positive light to the best of our abilities within our individual circumstances, whenever and wherever we can, as often as we can. Thank you and enjoy the rest of this event.